Well, my name's Tim. I make films, children's movies, and been doing that for quite a few years now. But before that, I've made corporate videos, BAFTA nominated scriptwriter, all things to do with media and filmmaking. You know, I love it. It's what I'm all about. It's my life now. It's my way of living. So now, in the last few years, I've moved into focusing on children's stories because I find it exciting and I find it important for British cinema and the future of British media that we have good live action children's entertainment in the UK. That's not just children's BBC, you know, other stuff. So that's what I'm all about, trying to reinvigorate that whole genre, really, alongside my good friend and scriptwriter Danny Stack. And we started a company called Nelson Nutmeg Pictures to make, you know, great TV, great cinema, great video for children.
Could you tell us a little bit about your childhood? What were your parents like?
Yeah, well, my parents both worked in education, actually, but my dad was a film fan. He was a Latin teacher by profession, a bit unusual, because he taught it in a normal state school, you know, rather than a private school. But he always had a love of the cinema, and he used to be in charge of like the AV club and all that kind of stuff back in the day. And he kind of imbued into me the love of the cinema and of British movies in particular. Films like The Italian Job we would watch when I was growing up, you know, together. And even though that sort of film sometimes frustrates you when you're a child with ambiguous endings and so on. And my mum was more into the arts, and she wasn't didn't do any artistic work or anything, but she just always had that admiration about all sorts of art, dance, you know, any kind of drama. She loved all that, and I think that kind of rubbed off on me to then think about that, you know, that not that it was a career, that came a bit later, but just to have that, you know, it was all right to be interested in those things, you know, and it was a legitimate interest, if you see what I mean, not something weird.
So did you start as a writer? Where did your career begin?
Well, I was at school, and we had this goes back a bit, and they gave us a funny questionnaire to fill out, like careers questionnaire, right? And this goes to show how long ago this was. You coloured in these little blocks, right, in this questionnaire, like A, B, C, D. Which of these do you think, you know, strongly agree with, and all this stuff. And then that got sent away to be scanned in by, wait for it, the computer, right? The computer went and did this. So then the computer comes back and says, well, Tim, you know, you're probably most suited to be a naval architect, right? Or something weird. Like, I'm just like, what is this? There's probably about 3 of them in the country. You know? So I ignored what the computer said. And but I thought, yeah, I'd do business and computing or something, because that was the sort of A-levels I was going towards. There was no media A-level at my school. And got a place in university to study that. And then I left school, and I was going to go, you know, in the September, October, whatever, to somewhere to do this degree. And I thought, no, wait a minute. Once I was at the school system, that long summer, I was like, actually, that sounds really boring. I don't want to do that. So I said no to that place with no backup plan. Then I had a year out, and during that year out, therefore, I applied to do media courses. I thought, let's give that a go, because I was making little movies at home in the kind of Adam Goldberg kind of way. And I got into Bournemouth University, still live in Bournemouth now. And that sort of opened my eyes to the whole filmmaking thing, of course, because I was kind of doing it. And when I left, I couldn't really afford the equipment, you know. It's expensive film equipment, as you know. And but writing's free, you know. You don't really need anything to get into the writing. So I started doing the script writing more earnestly and improving my craft and learning much more about it. Then I had the early success because I was only 24 or so when I got my BAFTA nomination for being a writer. So I thought, yeah, let's carry on with this writing lark. But my interest has always been in editing and directing and filmmaking, you know. So I've moved from the writing slowly into those other areas of filmmaking. But I keep a hand in with the writing. It's not my main thing, but I do still love it because, of course, the script's the start of a film. You know, it's the start of the story.
Can we talk a little bit maybe about a couple of those early short films that you made at home? Are there any that stand out to you? Anything?
Well, when I was learning, I was really making short films as a way of learning. So I made one, for instance, where I was learning more about editing, because editing was quite hard when I was learning. Because these days, you know, we can edit even on our phones. You know, so easy. But back then, I mean, I'll tell you the setup, but you'll think it sounds ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Basically, an editing setup was, of course, you play the tape because you'd shot on tape. So you play the tape on one machine, and then you record onto the next machine the bits that you wanted. So you'd have to edit it in order because you'd edit the first shot, then the second shot, then the right. So it involved 2 tape decks and a controller that would automatically control. So it's like quite a setup, you know. But there was a few places around that had that, and you could go and hire them and so on. So I wanted to learn more about the editing. So my early movies were much more about almost editing exercises. So I did a thing about a guy, which I played myself, because, like, you know, whatever. I'd just start the camera recording and then run round and do the acting. But it's about a guy kind of trapped in a loop in his house. So he'd go out of one door and he'd come into another door in the same room. Do you know what I mean? So I was just learning more about editing. That's my early sort of movies, was more experimental movies, just trying to get a sense of, you know, what is editing, what is camera work, you know, but enjoying doing it. That was the thing, you know. It's like fascinating discovering these techniques of filmmaking. Not jumping straight into crazy big movies, but just starting, like, what can I do with a couple of friends, a camera, and then we'd go and beg and borrow a bit of editing time down the road in Swindon, right? And yeah, that really kicked me off. I mean, because equipment was expensive, like I say, and you needed these facilities, there was places that you could go and hire. So we used to go to this place in Swindon called Media Arts. It's down the road from where I lived. It was like it's like 10 miles away, and you go there and you could just hire this basic edit suite for half a day. But there's other dudes hanging around there because it was a magnet for all, you know, actors, filmmakers, other people involved in various filmmaking crafts, sound, radio, anything like that. Like all the cool, if you see what I mean, cool kids hanging out there, cool of a certain nerdy type. And I met David Yates there, who now does Harry Potter and you know, directs those films and the new films as well. And you know, because he was hanging around there doing stuff, you know, and because he didn't have anywhere else to edit and learn. And so it was great to have those facilities. And I bumped into David a couple of years ago and said, you know, isn't it a shame that those places have gone? You know, that where can all the nerdy filmmaking kids hang out? He's going, yeah, there is that. But he goes, on the plus side, you know, we've got all the equipment we need in our pocket these days. If we're interested in filmmaking, we've got no barrier. We can learn straight away. And in another way, it's good that we've moved on. You know, we don't need to have a building where we can all go. We can just do it anywhere and just start making movies ourselves. That's a long answer, Harry. Sorry about that.
What are some of the biggest stresses of running this sort of company, this sort of organisation?
I think it's easy to answer that a big stress of running a production company is doing the accounts and so on, or things like that. I don't think that is. I think that that's just something you've got to do. You know, if I had a normal job, I'd have to do things I didn't always enjoy in that job, you know? And so I don't think that's the real answer. To me, actually, what is a stressful thing is making sure that I keep moving forward. You know, it's easy to get a bit stale and then things get boring. How can we keep things exciting and keep the energy up? and make sure that we're keeping fresh, you know. And in a way, you know, it's nice that guys like you are around to keep me fresh, you know, in terms of like, you know, you're on the way up. What are you guys doing? And the energy of doing a series like you're doing now reminds me, you know, we've got to keep going. Me and Danny, you know, we do a podcast about screenwriting. You know, we've got to keep that up, keep that energy up, because that keeps us talking to other people, new people. And I think that's the danger when you've got a company, is that you can become busy, very busy, standing still. And actually, you've got to keep the energy up to be moving forward, whatever that direction is, or just changing direction and not being one of those people that just disappears because circumstances change and you don't adapt, you know. I think, yeah, that's the danger, that's the stress.
You basically, similar to me and Alex, you co-direct with Danny.
Yeah.
On pretty much all of your projects, most of your projects. How do you manage that relationship?
Yeah, co-directing is a bit unusual, but we were inspired by the Coen brothers. Not everyone knows the Coen brothers if they're not into cinema, but Coen brothers are a famous duo. They're real brothers, and you know, they made Fargo, Hudsucker Proxy, Raising Arizona, lots of films, right? And they always share it 50-50 because that's how they grew up, learning together. And we were always inspired by that approach. But I've also been a strong advocate of collaboration. So I think I didn't want to be competing with Danny because we're trying to make a movie together. And so I said to him, let's just split it 50-50. Now, do we always do everything 50-50? No, that's ridiculous. So he probably does a little bit more of the writing, I'd say, because just for silly reasons, he's a faster typer, right? I mean, you know, that's what it comes down to. I know a little bit more technically, so I'm a bit stronger in post-production than Danny. That's all right, you know, but he's got a good opinion on editing, but he can't do some of the effects or anything. I might be able to dip into After Effects and start doing some of the changes. Doesn't matter. We say it's all 50-50. And that way, we're not always sort of looking over our shoulder at each other, being a bit like, oh, Danny's got a credit for writing, so I don't want to do any work on the script. Or, you know, just stupid things that can go through your mind and everything. By sorting it out from the start, it's 50-50, then we're saying it's me and Danny and we're making a movie together, and that's all anyone needs to know. Who does what and all that, that's our business. We don't care. We tend to do a bit of everything together. That's all kind of cool. And I think it's got a lot of strengths to it, but it's got to be someone that you know you get on well with. And so the only proviso I put around that is that I knew Danny for about 10 years before we started working together in a proper business way. So we knew we had a shared understanding of the process and the shared aims for our movies. So it wasn't like we suddenly we recommend it to everyone that they do it that way. No, but for some people, I think it works, you know, really well. And we still have our own individual things, but when we're working together, we're doing it 50-50.
How long did Future TX take to write?
Well, when we started working on our next movie, Future TX, it was a couple of years ago. It was actually but we started work on it, funnily enough, as a web series. So we thought, yeah, this is going to be quite low budget because it's a contemporary story set in the modern day, a couple of kids, and they get these phone calls from the future. So it's kind of sci-fi, but it's modern day. So no like robots or nothing expensive. So we thought that might make a good web series. So what we did was we planned out like what could happen. So that gave us like kind of some twists and turns every episode of about 5 to 10 minutes episodes. Then we've realised that was probably a little bit of a waste of time, because if we were going to make the web series, we might as well make a movie which we could then sell. So we reworked the script into a feature script. But actually what we found was, of course, that gave us a nice twisty-turny feature script because we had those twists every 5 to 10 minutes. And of course, we still kept all those. It's just now they occur during the film. So I guess we kind of realised, yeah, maybe, I don't know what it was, kind of, I suppose it was about 18 months ago, to kind of really focus more on the film script. And we had all that kind of ready to go about this time last year, which is when we were in Cannes, and we bumped into this producer, Lyndon, and he was just thinking about getting more into family movies, away from thrillers that he's more known for. And so we just sort of told him about the story, and he goes, yeah, that's sort of quite interesting. So kind of, you know, a bit of good luck, good fortune, happenstance, you know, combined with the fact that, you know, when we go to Cannes or any networking event, we really work hard on pre-networking, as in getting in touch with people. And one of those people was Lyndon, and it just happened to land with him at the time he was thinking about getting more into family movies. So yeah, all kind of work. You know, we worked hard, and we had a bit of good luck, and that got us the film off the ground.
Brilliant. And how about, like, how long did it take for the story to be written? Did it take a couple of months? Or?
It's hard to answer exactly how long the film take to write, because we went down the web series route, and then that stopped a bit. But I'd say when we're writing the script, it's quite fast, because like I say, Danny's quite fast. We'll spend quite a lot of time talking about the structure, and we use cards quite often to beat out the structure. And I'm quite a fan of doing quite a detailed beat sheet. And then Danny does a draft, but when he's doing the first draft, which we call draft 0, because it's like a real rough draft, might even have missing parts in it and so on. That can be very quick, like 3 weeks. So he just starts writing. But because he's got all the notes and all that work done, he's just, in a way, I don't mean this to be bad, he's kind of banging it out quick. But that's because we've done all the preparation, you see. And then, of course, many, many months rewriting it. So it's weird, you get this bit that people think would be the long bit, which is that first draft. But actually, no, that's this teeny small part of the things that take much longer.
Brilliant, thank you. And so, as a director and a writer and corporate filmmaker, what is probably the biggest biggest obstacles that you've been approached with, or that you've had to overcome?
I think when you're working for yourself, could be freelance, sole trader, could be in a company, whatever it is, it's about balance of activity. So, you know, I kind of talking to other business people myself and learning from them, and then sort of reformulating what they were saying. I've kind of got a balance now of 3 things. So I think if every day you're doing a bit of work, but you're also reaching out to someone new about potential work or whatever, and you're kind of learning something new every day, or pushing yourself, experimenting, or getting better at your craft. If you do those 3 things every day, then that is going to be the right pattern to move you forward. You're still going to have your ups and downs. And I think that's what I've learned, because I've had ups and downs. But actually what I found is if I can keep those 3 things going, it works itself out. Because what can happen is you can become I used to work for a guy called Brian, and he used to call it taxi. You end up like a taxi. What I mean by that is you pick up a fare, you drop off the fare, then you drive around looking for the next fare, earning nothing. In fact, driving around, wasting petrol, right? Then you pick up the next fare. He said, yeah, don't be like, have that taxi mentality. If you can always be kind of doing those 3 things all the time, it means you can be smarter. You can be doing the jobs back to back, pacing yourself, not having the stress of the boom and bust. So I've took on board what Brian was saying. Yeah, I've been thinking about this kind of keeping those 3 activities of work, networking, and learning yourself. Keep those 3 things going, and you're always going to be smoothing out, and generally you'll have an upwards trend to your career. Do you know what I mean? Still going to have the ups and downs, but at least it's going up generally. And yeah, times of stress come from when you don't do that. And I think it's easy then, once you have that model, to go, actually things aren't going very well at the minute, let me go back to that 3 things model and just be like, which of those aren't I doing at the minute? You know, there's people that are really talented. Talk to script writers about this all the time. They've got great scripts, but no one knows who they are because they spend all day, every day writing scripts. Like, well, where's your networking part? You know, no one knows who they are. So they've got the world's greatest scripts in a drawer, bottom drawer somewhere. You know, so and then, of course, they go on some networking binge and don't write anything new for a year and just go around talking to everyone. And then everyone thinks they're just a bullshitter because they're going around talking and not doing. It's like, no, let's just balance those things out and you're going to have a smoother ride.
What is your favourite project and why?
Well, the favourite thing that I ever worked on really has got to be that first feature, Who Killed Nelson Nutmeg, because, you know, it was a great location and we filmed it in near Bridport. And it was all in that one holiday camp location, which is a great place to go. And just that excitement of doing that first feature. And, you know, the weather was generally pretty good, sunny days, seaside. You know, it was like being on holiday as well as working. And, yeah, you know, I still remember that very fondly and the excitement, obviously, of doing it and so on. Obviously excited about the next one as well, but because there's new challenges. But just that first one, you know, obviously you've always got that... don't know, really, that kind of groundbreaking feeling behind it, you know, that done it at last, first feature, making it, getting it out there. We had our premiere at London Film Festival, it's a big festival, a big international festival. So just to be part of that, you know, it's all exciting and positive, isn't it? And yeah, you can't ever go back to having that first time of doing that. So that's why you've always got to push yourself to keep, you know, keep moving forward. But yeah, your first one is like a massive jump up. So it's like, yeah, it was. But, you know, in another way, I wish I'd done it a bit before. I was maybe a bit timid of doing a feature because it seemed so big. But, you know, it wasn't really. It was just doing short films, but longer. I know that seems silly. But, you know, you can have sometimes bit blockers in your mind where you think something's a bigger, you know, bigger, scarier task than it is. And you've got to move past that.
What keeps you motivated to keep going, not just as a director, but also as a business owner?
Yeah, motivation can be a bit of a... what am I trying to say?
It's a hard one, isn't
No, that's right, Harry, I'll get it. Yeah, motivation has to come from within. And obviously that, for some people, can spiral downwards. Because if you're not motivated, you're not motivated to get motivated. Do you know what I mean? And so it is difficult to keep a positive outlook always. Because, yeah, you're going to have some boring days, some days when you skint, you know, whatever. So, yeah, finding that within yourself is important. And I think it's about really deciding what it is that you want to do. So two things. Are you doing what you love? You know, that's got to help. And the second thing is remembering that you are the master of your own destiny. You know, if as a business owner or a sole trader, you know, you everything you're deciding to do, you're already ahead of the game because you're doing what you want to do. You know, you've not got someone telling you that you're doing it wrong, or someone that you know is doing it wrong, but corporate HQ says you've got to do it this way. You know, you're not one of those chumps. You're out there doing something yourself, and I think you've got to remind yourself of that. And the other thing to motivate yourself is actually to celebrate success. You know, we were talking before the camera was rolling about this new movie, and myself and Danny had to remind ourselves to celebrate that we got it off the ground because it happened so slowly. You know, when you've got a big project, for any business, when you've got a big deal or a big project, they happen slowly because they're big. And then, of course, what happens is then once you've signed the paperwork and you're going on it, you've got a lot of work to do. So when are you going to celebrate? You know, it never feels the right time. So you've got to take the time out, actually, to celebrate. And one of the things that I started quite a few years ago, which has turned into the local networking event down here called Be Real, was I started doing a Christmas thing, Christmas lunch for local freelance filmmakers. Because if you work in a company, you know, if you work for like Boots or Smiths or the local factory, you know, you have a Christmas get together. But if you work for yourself, you don't. So I was like, let's all just get together and celebrate what we've done this year. We've all done something cool this year. Let's do that. And I think that's what you've got to do. You've got to go a little bit out of your way to remember what you've achieved and celebrate that with your associates, with your kind of colleagues, almost a little bit with your competitors, if you see what I mean, if you're in the same field. But let's just get together and celebrate what each other's done. When you look back over a year, you realise all the things you've done. But at the time, they happen so slowly. You know what I mean? They just go past, and you can never actually sit down and go, yeah, cheers to everyone. Let's, we've come on. I mean, think about the film business. Just the last couple of weeks, we've got our films started. That's funded now. Guys at Treehouse Digital have got their web series out with Crypt TV. That's live, millions of views. White Lantern Film have announced their, big new movie with Eva Green in it. And everyone's doing stuff. It's like we've got to take the time together, I think, at some point soon to actually get together and go, yeah, let's have a night out or something, and just, because it just goes otherwise. I think that's important to motivate each other and motivate yourself. I think the only thing that I took a long time to learn was about really cracking on with your own thing. It's quite brave, I think, to say this is what I'm going to do, and really make a sort of a go of that. And not everyone gets to that point, or they think they've got to copy something that's gone before, whatever. So one of the things that we do, live action children's movies from original stories, is like what we realise there's no one else in Britain that does that. Okay, so there's no other production company, that does children's movies that aren't adaptations of famous books, right? And that can be a bit scary when you realise that, because you're a bit like, well, what do other people know? And another way to look at it is actually, we can own this space. And I think that it's that bravery to realise actually what might seem like it makes it foolhardy makes it an opportunity if you think you can pull it off. And one of the reasons I think I could pull it off was speaking to other people. So digging deep into the network. And I bumped into this guy I was in the Czech Republic, and I met up with a guy from Canada who was also there because we were at a children's festival together. And this guy was quite elderly, as in, I think he was about 75. And he's retired, really. But he, in Canada, is very famous because he's the guy that makes children's live action movies. Right? There's other people do it as well, but he's the guy, and he's done it nearly all his life. And to the point now where they're remaking his early ones because they're out of date. But, they're remaking them, and the parents remember the name and all this kind of stuff. And so meeting up with him and talking about it, he's going, yeah, it's an opportunity, do that like I've done, do it in Britain. I was like, yeah, that's what you can do, but it took me a long time to get to a point where I'd be brave enough to do that, to go, no, I'd rather just make another horror movie, because everyone makes horror movies and they always sell. It's a bit like, yeah, but then everyone's doing that, so forget that. Who else is doing children's movies? No one. Right. Let's do that. Well, there's no one to sell them to. No, we're going to have to invent some people to sell them to. Do you see what I mean? It's like, it gives you that first in kind of vibe and energy, makes it a challenge, but in a good way. And I think that applies to anybody in any business. Like, trying to find that different way of doing it, a new angle that's exciting. And, there's only one way, is there the demand there? We don't know. We've got to find out, but there's only one way to find out, and that's to do it and see if anyone turns up. It comes down to that. And I think that is exciting and does present the most opportunity to your investors as well, and it makes them nervous, but you go, well, I'm in for it. I'm all in for it. I'm not doing anything else, and I haven't done anything else for 3 or 4 years. Join me, let's give it a go. And I think people, that passion and that determination, you know, that resonates with people. Just to have that energy and that bravery and that entrepreneurial spirit. Doesn't matter what business you're in, you can have that and find new ways to tackle the demand that's out there.
What advice would you give to other people looking to go down the entrepreneurial path in a shape or form?
I think I can really only speak about creative entrepreneurs. And I think the problem with creative entrepreneurs is they focus on too much on the project and not on who do they know. So, for instance, you get a lot of script writers and they're like writing scripts that they think are interesting. And I'll be like, okay, list on this bit of paper the 10 people you're going to send this script to when you finish, and they don't know anyone. I'm like, yeah, you're spending your time in the wrong place here. It's about be connected, I think. So a lot of entrepreneurs go into something with too much passion. They've got passion for the thing that they want to do, but they haven't got a business yet to sit around it. I think don't forget about the business part. So, you know, doesn't matter what you are, if you're an artist, if you're a dancer, doesn't matter what part of the arts that you're working in, think about the audience, how you're going to connect the audience, how you're going to get any money in for this, how's it going to work. And that's just as important as being brilliant. I've had some absolutely genius ideas before in the past, like proper, like, you know, like, I think this is really clever. And I don't mean that to like show off about it. I'm like, no, actually, I think this is a really interesting idea that I don't think anyone's done before, but I didn't know anyone to send them to. So it's waste, isn't it? So I worked on them because I was younger and didn't really realise. So I'd spend quite a bit of time working on something and then realise I didn't really sort of know anyone. So I'm sort of trying to approach new people, but they're like, well, who's this guy I don't know coming in saying he's got a good idea? Do you know what I mean? They don't know if I'm completely bonkers. So that's when I realised, yeah, I've got to treat this as a business, not as a hobby. And you know, got to think about who's my suppliers and who's my purchasers, and do you know what I mean? Just get a bit of business rigor to it, and go, right, now I've got that. Now I have some funky ideas, and again, it's all going to work together.
What does your future hold? Like, do you know what's going to happen in the next 2 years, or are you just going to let it just sail as such?
Well, there's a thing in business like where you should have a goal and aim for it. And I kind of get that, but I've never subscribed to that so much, because so much happens. You know, it's quite often common for people to talk about a 5-year plan, and again, I get that, and I think that works in more stable industries. But film business is crazy. So to me, I have a pattern, like I say, of work that I know will achieve something, but generally, to me, it's about continuing to do interesting things. So I don't have a thing to say, yeah, by 5 years, I'll have won a certain award or something. Because I think that means that you're missing out maybe on interesting detours along the way. I'm interested in having a fascinating journey. And I want to continue in the children's entertainment way, which, you know, primarily is with features. But we've got a few proposals in at the minute with different companies, children's TV companies. Who knows if one of those will come off? Doesn't matter, because we're just trying to do interesting stuff. And if we can keep doing that, keep doing it locally, keep doing, you know, brave, live action children's entertainment, I'll be happy. I suppose that kind of is the goal. But like I say, it's not I don't have a fixed thing. So some other people talk about, yeah, I want to win a whatever award, or I want, just what I mean? Like, to me, it's not something so specific as that. It's more about me. So it's not about someone giving me an award, or that's not what I'm interested in. What I'm interested in is, can I continue to be interested in making good stuff? Can I still feel good about the work that I'm putting out? That's my goal, is for me to continue to be passionate about it. Because if I stop being passionate about it, I might as well stop.